let's talk about the user interface. Lesson overview. In this lesson, you will assign a title to your list and your screen. Furthermore, you will create a status for the list with standard list functions, as well as a status for the screen that refers to the components of the list status. As a business example, you need to provide user interfaces, title and status for your program screens. Give title and give status of a screen. The user interface of a screen consists of the following elements. The title bar contains the title of the current screen, that is called the GUI title, and the menu bar contains expandable menus, which have corresponding program functions as menu entries and or submenus, cascading menus, that is the GUI status. On every screen in the SAP system, the standard toolbar always contains the same standard push buttons for functions that are used frequently. In the application toolbar, frequently used functions of the screen are made available. Together, menu bar, standard toolbar, function key assignment, and application toolbar make up the GUI status. To use the GUI title or GUI status on a screen, this must be assigned to the screen. This happens by means of the ABAP statements set title bar and set pf-status. For example, let's take a look at the following image. This is our typical program. On our typical program, we have the GUI title. That will be the title of the program. In this case is User Interface Design Menu with List General. And then we have the GUI status. That will be the toolbars that we have. So we have the menu bar. The standard toolbar is where you have the back, the save, and the execute push buttons. The application toolbar is another bar where we can define our own push buttons for easy access, and the function key assignment, that will be when we assign function keys to all of our push buttons. That will be part of the GUI status. So inside our system, let's take a look at an example of a GUI title and a GUI status. So let's navigate to the ABAP editor, and then let's go to Environment, Examples, ABAP Examples. Inside our ABAP documentation and examples, let's open the ABAP user dialogs and screens, processing screens, and let's double click on GUI status on screens. Let's execute this example. So here we have the GUI title will be the demonstration of user interface. This is the GUI title defined for this program. And the GUI status will be all the toolbars. So the menu bar, that is the menu bar defined here was used by a demonstration button with save, print, delete, exit, and all of the other options we have here. Then we have the standard toolbar where we have the back, exit, and cancel push buttons, and also the save push button. And we have the application toolbar where we can define our own push buttons for easy access. So for example, if I press my define push button in the application toolbar function 2, this prints out the function code down below. Each push button has an assigned function code. So this has the delete, and the same applies for the push buttons and the options in the menu bar. For example, if I choose print, the print function code will be displayed. Let's take a look at the objects created for the GUI title and the GUI status. Remember, everything inside SAP is an object created. So we have to go to the object navigator. So let's go back and let's take with us the name of this program. We can take a look that the name of this program is demo dimper GUI status. So let's copy that and let's go back to the SAP Easy Access menu, and then we navigate to the object navigator. We choose program and we paste the name of our program and we press enter, and the objects for our program are displayed. Here we can take a look at the GUI status and the GUI title. So the GUI title was created at 100 GUI title. This is the name of our GUI title. You assign a number to it. So I'm going to double click, and the title that we created was a demonstration of user interface. What about our GUI status? I double click on my object, and as I can see, I have the menu bar with the corresponding options, the application toolbar with my defined options, and the function keys with my assigned function keys to my different push buttons. Implementing the GUI title. There are two options for implementing a GUI title for your screen. You first create the GUI title via the context menu on the object list for your program, and then assign it to the appropriate screen using the set title bar statement. Another option is that you create the GUI title by means of forward navigation from the respective set title bar statement of your program. A title can have a maximum of 20 characters. After you have assigned a GUI title to a screen, this is inherited to all subsequent screens. If you want to have a different title for each of the subsequent screens, you have to set a separate title for each screen. So let's go inside the system and create a GUI title for one of our programs. So back in our program, in the SAP Easy Access menu, let's go to the object navigator, and we're going to create a GUI title for our program in our ABAP course package for the flight screen program. Remember that program? I'm going to run it. That is a program that displays the arrival and departure airports from the different airlines and the different flights, and when you double click, it takes you to the details of a flight. So I want to change this title to the departure arrivals, and I want to create a GUI title for this screen called flight details. So to do that, we go back and let's open our program. Remember that GUI titles and GUI status are for screens, so we only have one screen 100, that is the flight details. But so let's go back to the program by double clicking the program. So how do I change the title flight from the main program? the main program, remember, you didn't create the first screen. It was provided to you by SAP. This is the screen 0. So I click on change and I go to the attributes of my program. That is where I change my title. Remember the title we give it at the beginning, the flights? We can change it here back to departure and arrivals. I'm going to save and I'm going to activate. I'm going to run my program, and now I can see my departure arrivals as the title for my program. But remember that this is inherited to all of the screens, so it also shows departure arrivals in my screen 100. So I need to create a GUI title for my screen 100 and then set my title at runtime. So how do I do that? I go back to my program, and then under my program I right click. I can do it two ways. I can right click, create, and then I can click on GUI title, or I can create it by forward navigation. So I click on my screen, and then I have to create a model, for example, on my screen to present my title. Remember that the process before output is for presentation purposes. So I create the model set title. Set title and status. So then I double click to create my PBO. It doesn't exist. Yes, I want to create my model, and I want to create it in my PBO include. Remember, we already created an include to store our PBO models. So I'm going to choose that include. Yes, I want to save. And now and then I can set my title bar, and I can create it here by forward navigation. I double click and then I create it. So I'm going to create it by forward navigation. It doesn't exist. Yes, I want to create my GUI title. Yes, I want to save. My title code is going to be 100 because this is for screen 100, so I'm going to maintain the same number for the title and the screen, and the title is going to be flight details. Okay, and then I activate and I select all of my objects, my program, my screen, and my title. So now let's go back to the flow logic. Remember the flow logic of our screen. First, it's going to start by setting the title bar, and then it's going to clear the OK code. This title bar is always going to be set whenever you enter this screen. So let's go back to our program and then let's run it to try it. So as you can see, at first I have my departures arrival title, and when I double click I have my flight details title. Let's go back, and it goes back to the departure arrivals title. Setting a status for each screen, or a status GUI. For the implementation of a status for the screen, you have the same two options as for the implementation of a GUI title. First, create the GUI status using the object list of the program, and then assign it to the screen using the set pf status statement, or create the GUI status by means of forward navigation from the corresponding set pf status statement of your program. The tool for the status maintenance is called the menu painter. So let's create a GUI status using the menu painter inside SAP. So back in our program, let's create and assign a GUI status to our program. So we go back, and now remember we have two ways to create it: by forward navigation or by right clicking on our program and then selecting create GUI status. I always prefer creating by forward navigation because first I place my code where I know it needs to be. So I'm going to double click my screen because I'm going to create a status for my screen 100, and on my model set titles and status I'm going to double click, and below set title bar I'm going to set the PF status, and I define a number also, so I call it 100, and then double click, and then GUI status does not exist, create object, yes. Yes, I want to see save my program, and this is going to be the status for the flight details screen. And now I have the menu painter where I can create my menu bar, application toolbar, and function keys. Let's start with the menu bar. This is the menu bar that is displayed on a program. So let's personalize our menu bar for our program. So I'm going to expand here, and I have many ways to start. I can start creating my menu manually by typing my options, or I can choose the button display standards so it loads the standard menu bar that you normally use. In this case I'm going to display the standards, and it displays these options, and instead of object I'm going to write program. So I have program, edit, go to extras and environment. I like those options, and I'm going to program each one by one. So I'm going to start with the program, so I'm going to double click, and then the system shows a list of items that I can include. For right now they are not included because I haven't defined a code, but I want to include, for example, in the program I want to include the exit text. So in my code I define I'm going to use the exit function code to this option, and I double click on my code because I need to create my code. So this is going to be function code exit. The type, we normally use the normal application function code are type without any type. So remember that we created, for example, the save function code, that type doesn't have any type, but this is going to be an exit command because this function type is going to take me back or out of my program. So I'm going to choose this one as an exit command, and I can choose the text. I can choose the text for the icon and for the info. I don't need that, and an icon, I don't need an icon in this case, and I'm going to create it like that. Now for the edit, I'm just going to include the cancel for purposes of this course. You can create one by one, but for this course we're just going to program the exit and the cancel function code just to show you how the menu bar works. So I'm going to double click the cancel, and this is also an exit command type. It is not a normal, and the system proposes the icon cancel. I like that, and I click OK. Now for the go to, I'm going to just program the back statement, and I'm going to double click the function code. The back is also an exit command, and I can program, you can choose an icon name, so I'm going to look for the back. I like this one, I choose this one, and now I have my menu bar program with the options program with just the exit, the edit with cancel, and the go to with the back. So I'm going to save my GUI status. Before moving on to the application toolbar and the function keys, let me explain you something about these two bars. So, before moving on to the next bars, I'm going to talk about how can you include the template if you don't want to build your menu from zero or from scratch. So, in order to load an available status or a standard status for list or selection screen status of another program to your status as a template, you can use the menu, extras, and then you go to adjust template in the menu painter. With this function, you can load the sub-objects of any status to the current status. If so desired, the system will suggest standard values for your menu bar, which you can override, just like the ones that we added to the menu bar, using the push button display standards, and we are overriding. The menu bars can contain up to 8 menus. You can define up to 6 of these yourself, but the system and help menus are standard and are added automatically by the system. Now, maintaining the function key assignments in the menu painter. Function key assignments is split into 3 areas. In the standard toolbar, the buttons of the standard toolbar are linked to fixed corresponding function key or combination of function keys. For example, the push button with the disc symbol is linked to the key combination Ctrl S or the save function key. Recommended function key settings. The system proposes the functions that you should generally assign to, so it's better to use the proposed settings to specific function keys. And then we have the freely assigned function keys. All our function key combinations that are freely assigned with function codes are listed. You can also define buttons on an application toolbar for frequently used function keys. In this case, we're going to assign the same function to the menu bar, the application toolbar. Referencing to sub-objects of an available status. You can use the icon depicted in the graphic. I'm going to show you the graphic in a few moments. There you go. To display all sub-objects, menu bar, function key assignments, or application toolbars that have already been defined for the program. So you can use that icon to reuse objects that you already defined. So let's keep on creating our status GIF for our program back in the system. So back in our program, we were working with the menu bar. Remember, we created for program the exit, and then on edit we have the cancel, and then on go to we have the back. So we're going to also choose on go to, we're going to include another one we define for ourselves, that is the details. So we can access the details of a flight from the menu bar and not only by double clicking on a line. So this is the details option. Now, as I was talking to you, you can also load a template if you don't want to create this manually one by one. You can do that by going to extras, adjust template, and then you choose the program and the status that you want to load a template from. But in this case, let's create it manually. So we have the menu bar and the extras and the environment. We're going to leave it blank. We just want the go to, the edit, and the program. And I'm going to minimize this. Then on the application toolbars, I'm going to create the details button also. So I type detail, the function key data, I double click, and I need to assign a function key. So I'm going to assign the F2 function code data or data is going to have a function type, and this is going to be the normal application function because this is not an exit command. This is a function to display the details of a selected item. So I leave it like that. The reaction is going to be display, and the icon name, I'm going to choose the details dog item detail. I'm going to choose this icon. I like that one. And the icon text is going to be details also. And the info text, I also wanted details. Now I have in my application toolbar my details button. Remember, I already have a button like that, but just for the purpose of showing you how this works, I'm going to add the same functionality in the application and the menu bar. So this function code is going to do exactly the same as the go to details function code. So I'm going to add that one to the application toolbar. And for the function keys, remember that I already have the details assigned. So on the F2 I assigned it in the application. So I have my function code data for my details and my icon. And for the standard toolbar, I'm going to use the function code back for this icon. This was already created. Remember, we can reuse them. So the function code back is also going to work for this, the exit for this, and the cancel function code for this one. I double click, exit function code, and cancel function code. So now I have my menu bar, my application toolbar, and my function key created, and the standard toolbar with some with my standard options created. But remember, I still need to program this in ABAP code so it works properly. For now, I just created the graphic interface of my GUI status. So I activate and I select my program, all of my objects and my GUI status, and now as I can see, my GUI status is active. So I have a GUI title and a GUI status. Now let's program some functions in ABAP for our GUI status to function correctly. So now let's code some ABAP into our program to use our menu bar and application toolbar. Before we do that, we need to adjust one more thing in our function keys. So in our standard toolbar, if you recall, we have the enter function key code assigned as a spacebar, and in our program, when in the case that we have, when that reached the others case, then it executed. Let's define a function key for the enter. So if we place on this icon enter and then we press enter, if the function key enter does not exist, the system is going to propose us if we want to create it, and then we click on yes, create it. In this case, it's already existed, so it's function key enter and it is a normal application function. So I program that, and also on my details I'm also going to program the back function key, so it takes me back to the main program list. So now I have the back program here, and on my program edit, go to, remember I have the details, and on the extras I'm just going to assign extra and the code XTR, and on the environment and via n I'm just going to add an option, OPT option 1, and I create it as a normal option, and extras. And now I can activate. So the first thing I need to do, remember I programmed the back, the exit, and the cancel function codes. I need to add those to my program. So in my screen, I navigate to my screen 100, and for those function codes, remember they are typed at E, the function type is E, or at exit, so they need a special model created for them. So model leave screen 100. I'm at exit command. What does this mean? This means that whenever you press an exit command or a push button that is instructing the system to leave the screen, it is the first thing to be processed. So you put them in the at exit command, and you put it before your other normal commands. Why? Because, for example, if you have any validations or any other data before you execute your function code, if you want to exit or leave the screen, you don't want all the validation to be executed by the system. You just want to leave the screen. So you program that in a different model that you place before your normal function codes. Sorry. So I create my model leave screen 100. Double click, yes. And I want to include it in the same PAI include. Yes. Save. And here I write my case, OK code, and now I program my back and my exit command. Back or cancel is going to be the same. When I click back or cancel, I'm going to remember the other one we have. I'm going to copy this, and now I'm going to place it in the correct model. So now I can erase my back from my other user command. When others, I used to click enter. Now this is going to be the enter. Remember I added the option 1. And I also added the extract command. So whenever I click option 1, I'm going to display option 1 to the screen. And if I select the extra, I'm going to select extras. I'm just going to display a message to the screen. Sorry. So now I have my save, enter, option 1 and extras on my user command model, and on my leave screen model, I handle my back and cancel. I set the screen to 0 and I throw the message, and when it's an exit, I'm going to leave my program. So I save and I activate. I go back, and now I have my two models, and I implemented my status for my program. So let's take a look and let's test our program. So I double click my program and I run it. I activate, and now I run it. So remember I have my departure arrivals, and I double click one and it takes me to my menu. So here I have my details, my back, and my save. Remember, if I press save, it takes me back and changes were saved. Now I have my menu bar, I have the exit because I programmed it, the edit, the go to, the extras, the environment, and the system help. And in my go to, I program my back and my details. So my details, I still haven't assigned, I forgot to assign one for details. Now, but I assigned one for back, remember, so let's try the back. So I click on go to, I select back, and it takes me back, and I left the screen without saving. Remember, I programmed that. I also programmed the cancel. Remember, it takes me back because on the back or cancel, I assigned the system to go back and to print this message. What about the exit? It takes me out of the program. I run it one more time. And I have my back also. But this is not working. I'm going to tell you why now. So let's exit our program. And the back is not working because we haven't assigned it as an exit command. So the system is not processing that because we took it out, remember, the back from the normal user command. So the system is going into this code and looking for the back, and it is not finding it, so it's not doing anything. So I'm going to go to my element list, my functions assigned, remember my back button, and the type has to be exit command. So I activate, and now this button should work. So I go back to my program, I execute, select, and now my button is working because now I assigned the function type E for exit. The same goes for here. I'm still missing to program the details. So I go back and I go back. I navigate to my screen, remember, to my screen. And I go to my normal user command, extra, and when I press the data, I'm going to show a message, more details, just for now. I activate, double click my program. Remember, you always have to run the program, not the screen. And now you can see more details is working. The same goes for extra and option 1 on environment. So remember, we added the back also here, but for some reason it is not displaying. That is because we programmed it as an exit command. So we need to change that if we want our button back to be displayed here. So let's exit. Let's go back to our Git status, application toolbar, and we have back. Let's change this to main better because we need to assign a different function code that is not type E. So this is just function test going back to main screen and an icon. Let's look for a back icon. So we can use this one. Assign function F8. And now I activate one more time. And now I have to program the main function code. So I go back to my screen. Remember the type. Let's take a look at the type. It is not type E, so we need to program it in the user command, not at the module with at exit command. So when main, I'm going to use the same code where I set the screen to 0 and I send the message. So I activate, double click my program and run my program, not the screen. I select San Francisco and then I want to going back to main screen, and now it's working fine. So now we program the application toolbar, the menu, and some push buttons on our screen. So I hope now you're able to set up title and some menus to your program. One more thing I forgot to tell you about that is very important is with the GUI status. So let's navigate to the GUI status, and that is this function code, activate and inactivate. So for example, whenever you load a template, remember you can load a template from another program using the just template, and then that template is going to load all of your buttons here, but maybe for that screen using the details doesn't make sense. So you can use the function key to deactivate that function from the screen, and now this shouldn't appear or work on your program. So you can activate and deactivate the function codes that you don't need in some programs when you load from a template. So you can see the details was deactivated. So that is a very important feature you can use to activate and make inactive some functionalities you don't need in the screen. For now, you should now be able to implement a GUI title, implement a GUI status with menu bars, symbol toolbar, an application toolbar for the list and screen, and maintain the function key assignment of the screen.